What's up, guys? We're back at the DDM podcast. We're here with Pro 1 driver Alec Robbins, and excited to have you on, buddy.
Thanks.
I'm excited to see what the car is going to look like. Keep hearing about there's going to be some reveal coming soon. So, but
Yeah, the next couple weeks. So,
you want to give people a quick rundown on like what you drive that that you can tell people right now, at least.
yeah. So we drive Nissan 350Z. It's an '05 350Z. We ran it Pro 2 the last 2 years. LS motor. We've got an RTS dog box in it. Uh, New for this year, we got some upgraded Fortunato Pro 2-way coilovers. We're running Holley Efi this year.
Nice.
Chrome carbon carafting on the body. We got a big Magnuson supercharger that I'm super excited about.
Sweet.
That'll be hanging out the hood. Yeah, it's relatively the same car as it was last year, just minor upgrades and things here and there. Obviously, a much different look. So
And
excited for that.
that was the thing is like when I look at your program and your car, it's like a keep it simple, stupid kind of mentality.
Yep.
To where it's like
Yep.
like you don't have the like like the most expensive wheels out there. You don't have the craziest body kit.
Yeah.
It's almost stock body, isn't it, or close
Yeah, it
to?
is actually. It's stock bumpers, stock side skirts, stuff like that. We just have this year we got the chrome carbon over fenders in the rear and the front
Nice.
over fenders.
Yeah.
So yeah, it keeps it simple and keeps the cost down. Still looks really good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the cool thing was watching you last year, you were definitely one of the most consistent Pro 2 drivers the entire year. And I think that's just a testament to you just not changing a whole lot.
Yeah,
And getting used
I
to the
like to.
car.
Right, I do like to keep it consistent. I don't make a whole ton of changes at events. We try and keep some notes for the tracks, and we go into the event with um, a basic setup that we think will work well, and then kind of very slightly change. Most of our changes are just like tire pressures and some slight camber and toe adjustments in the rear, stuff like that. But yeah, I like to keep it consistent, that's for sure. So
Yeah, for sure. So, I guess we can go into, there's all kinds of topics that we can hit. You actually won Pro-Am at MDU the year after I got into filming.
yeah,
So, I actually never really saw you compete in Pro-Am, but you got this really cool pickup truck that I want to talk about that people that are just getting into drifting probably don't know about, and the thing's pretty rad from what I've seen. I love the design, and I assume it's a wrap that's on it.
yep.
I love that wrap. It's so cool.
Thanks. Yeah, that kind of makes it stand out.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think like we were just talking about, keeping things simple and consistent. I think a lot of that comes from the truck too. It was it's a 1986 Nissan truck. It had an LS motor, a T56, solid axle with a spool in it. It was still on leaf springs. We had coilovers up front, and really basic, simple truck, and it just
Sounds like a
worked.
drag car.
Right, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I mean, having the solid axle in that, and there really wasn't a lot of stuff to adjust. So I think that's kind of where that consistency and like just leaving things alone and driving through it kind of comes from with me.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, with the truck, I mean, the motor was basically all stock GM parts. I don't think there's a single aftermarket part in the motor. It was just all off the shelf GM stuff,
Yep.
and made like 400 wheel horsepower, and nothing crazy, but it just worked.
Hmm.
And yeah, like I said, solid axle in the rear and leaf springs. Um, you
So
know,
did you like use S chassis stuff on the truck to like kind of get it to all work and suspension wise, or?
no, there's no S chassis parts on it actually. I know a lot of people that build trucks now like to swap in subframes and do things like that, but
Yeah.
yeah, we left the stock rear end, and then up front, I modified some of the pickup points a little bit. We added coilovers and did like a tube front
Okay.
but it was still a stock frame up front, and then I used Subaru rack and pinion to
Huh.
get rid of the steering box and stuff, and then modified my knuckles and stuff like that. So
Interesting.
yeah,
Well,
so,
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah. We when I built it, when I put the rack and pinion in, the S chassis it's a rear mount, so the steering gear is behind the subframe, so that doesn't work in the trucks because in the trucks it's in front, so it makes the steering opposite. So we ended up going with the Subaru rack, and we ended up doing that just because I got one for nothing, and just made it work, and it worked really well. It's still the same rack in the truck now, but yeah, it's got tons of angle and super fun and easy to drive.
I've noticed a lot of motor swap cars struggle with steering and like steering racks and like blowing steering racks and stuff like that. So what kind of causes that?
A lot of times with a lot of the angle kits you get, they run an offset rack spacer. So rather than having the inner tie rod come directly off the rack where it's putting load straight on the rack when it's moving in and out, it'll offset it to kind of adjust where the pivot point is.
Yeah.
And when you offset it, then it's putting kind of like pressure on the side of the rack. So rather than just pushing straight in and out, it puts like a side load, and I think that wears out bushings and does kind of weird stuff.
Gotcha. Because that seems to be a major issue with a lot of various engine swaps, especially in like S chassis and stuff, and figuring out power steering setups and stuff.
The added weight and load. And, I've had really good luck with all my stuff. I've always run in the truck with the Subaru rack, and in the Z, I've just run stock GM pumps and a big fluid cooler, and I've had no issues with anything. So
that's good to hear. Yeah, that. So when you built the Pro 2 car, what made you kind of get into the 350Z?
I've just always liked those cars, and it just so happened, we got this car. We started working with a salvage company up here called Slaggood. They do, they buy and part out like 350Zs, 240s, BMWs, things like that, all kinds of drift cars. And we partnered up with them, and they found us a chassis. We really liked the Zs, and they were easy to find. Parts are easy to find. Companies that support you are easier to find than some other stuff, and it's more of a relevant chassis than a 240, which is getting older, getting harder to find. So we jumped into the Z, and it just so happened the year after we started building this one, and then ended up jumping on board with Coilovers and driving their Z for that year while we were building this car. So everything kind of just fell in place with that, and it made it easy.
Nice. Before we get too far off on the truck, I know we kind of talked about the differences a little bit before this. Before the show, we talked about difference in like Pro-Am, I guess you could say, specifications and stuff from like when you used to run. And kind of, you want to kind of explain like what's changed now? Like, I don't think you could legally run the truck now, could you?
Nope. I think the year after we won the championship, they implemented the no truck rule. So there was a lot. Pro-Am from back then, that was 2016, to now, they've implemented and they've kind of merged more into with the Formula Drift rules.
Yep.
So, it kind of makes things more streamlined as far as, going from Pro-Am to Pro 2 to Pro 1. You can kind of use the same car almost for all of it, which would definitely be nice.
Right.
But we jumped in with the truck. The rules were much less. We needed like obviously a roll cage, the FIA seat, the harnesses, a suit. It was pretty basic rule book. I would say the rule book for Pro-Am then was probably what like a normal like drift day would be now.
Grassroots,
yeah. So that made it easier for me to jump in and just kind of keep wet with it, because we didn't really know what we were getting into when we started, honestly. We we just kind of, I had the truck. It was consistent. It was fun to drive, and we did a lot of local events up here. And then we're like, yeah, let's see what happens. Let's go try and drive Pro-Am. We've been watching all these guys tear it up in MDU for years. Like Mike Fiak, Shane Willey, Stratton. We had all those guys. Like they were like the big guys. For the Midwest. And so we really had no idea. Like we were coming into it with a little stock LS and a pickup truck with axle, and we were running 235 tires on the rear.
Really?
Yeah, and so we came into it and just ended up being consistent. That was the biggest thing I think with Pro-Am, even nowadays, is just consistency. And yeah, we actually won the Mr. Consistent Award that year and Rookie of the Year. So
that's awesome. How many years of Pro-Am did you run?
Just one.
Really? And you won it?
So we jumped in, we won, and then we went straight to Pro 2 the following year.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet. Would you recommend doing that though for most people?
Probably not for most people. It just so happened, that we finished up that and then ended up jumping in with Coilovers, and they needed a driver, and it worked out financially. We were able to make it work because of them, and yeah. So, but had we been doing it on our own, it definitely would have been much more difficult. I think running, a year of Pro-Am, if you do really well, start to build those partnerships with the companies that you want to follow you up to Pro 2, and kind of build your program, as most would say.
That makes sense.
Before you jump.
Yeah. So you now run. Well, you ran Pro 2 obviously last year and the last couple of years. And then you also now you are running Pro 1 this year.
Yep.
Whenever that's gonna start.
Yeah. Right. If it ever comes.
Right. But you do it all with a family, which I don't think is common that we see in at least a lot of the younger drifters. Obviously, you don't see that a whole lot. So how do you kind of balance the family life with running FD and stuff like that?
We kind of make it a family business. I do all the car building, fabrication, all that stuff. My wife helps me out with a lot of the partnership sponsors, things like that. And then we actually just built this house last year. I would show you around the garage a little bit, but I can't show you the car yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, we do everything right out of our house. I've got a lift and welder, and we do all the fabrication, everything, all the car maintenance, building, everything gets done right here.
Wow.
So yeah, the kids run around with wrenches and hit stuff. But yeah, we do that, and then at events, whether or not Grandma and Grandpa watch the kids, or some of them they come with, and we try and keep everyone involved and make it fun. I know there's a handful of other Pro 1 drivers you'll see running around with kids and just having fun, but you got to keep it.
It's not something you hear about a lot of though, and so it's kind of cool that you're able to still make it work. Have a family and.
Yeah, I mean, when me and my wife started dating, I think our first date was a drift event. So we have fun every grassroots event that we go to up here. The kids are coming with, and we're camping and going to hotels, and
That's awesome.
make memories. And
that's really cool. Are you like the coolest dad in the world?
I hope so.
So you're from Minnesota.
Yes.
So what is out there, in the words of in drifting and stuff?
It's grown a ton since I've started. When I first started drifting here, we had Proving Grounds, which is put on by Modern Auto Performance, which is a local company. They had one event at Brainerd International Raceway, and then there was one other Power Cruise, which was also held at Brainerd International Raceway. And those were pretty much the two events per year. Then there used to be an oval track that got shut down actually the year after I started driving, so that's kind of where I really learned to drive. They would just have open drift days for $25, and you could just go drive with your buddies, and that was a really cool place. But they got shut down the following year, and or they sold off and closed down. But since then, when I first did those couple events, when there was like 2 events a year, there would be, maybe 25, 30 cars.
Yeah.
They weren't specific drift events. They were just events that held drifting.
Mm-hmm.
And, so, there's a handful of cars. And now, a couple years later, they have like proving grounds is twice a year at Brainerd. We've got the Drift Mentality events, which are also held twice a year at Brainerd. And all these events sell out like within minutes. There's hundreds of drivers up here. They just one of my big sponsors, Sandbeck Race Development. They own. They just actually built a big new shop at. There's a place called Top End Dragways up in northern Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
They bought a quarter-mile drag strip 2 years ago now, and moved their shop out there. And they actually built a drift track at their facility. So it's a really cool place now. They got the whole. It's a huge shop. I don't even know how square foot big it is, but I think they've got like 10 lifts and a dyno.
Wow.
All kinds of stuff. But yeah, and then right on site they've got a quarter-mile drag strip and a drift track. And super cool place.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Are they gonna start holding events, you think, or?
Yep, they have been for 2 years now. This is their 3rd year we'll be going into, but they hold like the 10K SRD Drift Challenge.
Oh yeah, yep, I saw that.
Yep, so
that looked like a fun event.
It was super fun. It kind of sucked because it got rained on most of the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's a super cool event. We'll be judging up there this year with Robbie Nishida and I think one other local driver.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's super cool. I know last year they had, I know Matt Field was up there judging, and then there's 2 other judges. I can't remember who they were though, off the top of my head. Yeah. But yeah, it's a super fun event. We'll be doing that again this year. And then they've got, I think, once a month drift events up there, and then you can do track rentals and things like that. But it's super cool because they're like they're a group of guys that were big into drag racing.
Yeah.
And then they built the track. So it always kind of makes me laugh, like when they're holding events, if you get like people like dropping a tire and getting dirt on the track, they'll be out there with a tractor sweeping the track and like prepping and doing stuff like that. It's like just something you never see at drift events, just because they're drag racing. They're used to like track prep and keeping everything perfect. And yeah, it's super cool though. It's a full concrete drift track, so it's pretty easy on tires. It's more of like a low speed, 2nd, 3rd gear kind of track, but
nice.
It's fun, super fun for tandems. So
yeah, it looked like a cool track when I was watching the videos on it. So we'll have to see if I can make it out this year. I want to. So
yeah, definitely. It's a good time.
Mm-hmm. But it's cool that stuff's growing there because you don't hear about Minnesota much. I will admit, or that area.
No, yeah, it's kind of like a niche market. We kind of like keep to ourselves up here, I guess you could say.
Right, because
there's tons of events going on, but it's just like there's not a whole lot of media going on at them. There's not like really any big media outlets out of Minnesota.
Right.
So it just doesn't get out there as much.
Exactly. But. Yeah, and so because if you think about it, if you guys do travel to events, Michigan's not, because you got to go around the lakes. So I think I think Chicago's probably the closest place that you guys could go outside of that's got big events.
Yep. I know. Well, like Shawano.
Oh, that's right. You got US Air up there.
They're, I think, like 5 hours from us.
Okay.
So
that's not too bad.
Yeah, that's probably the closest. But like when we jumped into MDU, like the closest event was like 9 hours. So yeah, it was quite the step.
Yeah. So that's cool though. Do you ever go up to like Canada and stuff and drive at all, or is there not much?
I've been invited up to some stuff up there, but I never have. I don't have a passport and stuff like that, so it just seemed like more of a hassle than it was worth.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of like when we go up to Top End Dragways, there's a lot of Canadian drivers that come down, so you see a lot of Skylines and different cars. It's kind of cool.
That's awesome.
But yeah, because it's probably about the same distance from us to there as it is from Canada.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah.
So how long is your drift season usually? Because ours usually starts end of April-ish in Michigan.
Yeah, like Right now, we could probably. I know the first event that's being held here is April 18th. It kind of depends on how the winter goes. Like right
Yeah.
now, here we have no snow.
Mm-hmm.
Go 3 hours north to Top End Dragways, they've got like a foot of snow still.
Wow.
So it kind of varies. Um, but yeah, usually around in April sometime. You know,
Mm-hmm.
once in a while we'll get a snowstorm at the end of April, but it's pretty rare. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's always been I think the big thing with living up north and wanting to
yeah,
drive is that you guys are limited to like 6 months out of the year that you can drive, you know?
yeah, it kind of sucks about that. Yeah, like
Mhm.
I haven't driven since FD Texas really. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, and then it goes usually till October. Sometime in October is usually about the end. I know, like 2 years ago when we did Pro 2 at Irwindale, I was driving my truck up at Top End Dragways in a hat and gloves, and it was snowing. And then the following weekend, we drove to Irwindale, hot as hell, and sweating your ass off in the car. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty crazy, but
Huh.
keeps things interesting. We've been
Mm-hmm.
talking about doing some like ice drifting events up at Top End,
Yeah.
try and like somehow pack the snow down and make nice tracks out of the track, but we'll see. I know,
That'd be
like
pretty
Justin
cool.
Robinson was up here a month or so ago doing some ice drifting stuff, but
Yeah, I mean, I've heard of people doing like, doing it on the lakes and stuff, but
yeah, surprisingly, that's like it should be more popular than it is, I think. I know you typically, I mean, winter hits and everyone rips their car apart and starts rebuilding it and stuff, you know. But um, the one bad thing about having a car out in the winter up here is they salt the roads, so
hmm
rust is a big problem. Um, but
same
yeah,
here.
yeah, like it would be cool to get some kind of event going on the lakes. Just get a set of ice tires and go rip. But I don't know. I'm sure one of the big things would be noise complaints and things like that because most of the lakes up here is cabins around them and things like that. But I don't know.
It'd be a
I guess
cool idea though.
no.
I know. I just talked to Fielding, um, and he did one with Josh Robinson.
Yep.
I don't remember. I don't know how close that is to you.
I want to
Um,
say it was like 40 minutes from here. It was pretty close. We got lakes
yeah.
everywhere up here, so
Yeah.
you could go anywhere and
Yeah, see, like, and they said it was awesome. There's like unlimited laps, and if you
yeah.
needed to change the course, you just plow a new course, you know. So I think the more popular drifting gets, I think the more that people are actually going to take advantage of the ice drifting stuff too, because it
Yeah.
looks super fun to me.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, I know. I don't remember who I was talking to, but they said that the courses get really rough,
Mm-hmm.
so you need almost a specific like rally tire with the
Hmm.
studs, because
Yeah.
it'll actually it shaves the ice down,
Yeah.
and then it almost makes like a film of like shaved ice on top. So you need the studs to really dig in down there. And but yeah, I mean, if even if it's like $500 a tire, that's still not bad for an entire season, you know.
Right. Exactly.
So
Um,
I'd be kind of cool. I want to. I'm gonna be doing a bunch of updates and changes to the truck this year, and maybe next season I want to try and get it out on the ice.
that would be cool.
Yeah.
So is the truck now like the fun, like go to the fun events kind of truck?
Yeah,
The
yeah,
thing?
pretty much. I last year I like to. It's kind of weird going back and forth between the two because they're so drastically different. Like they handle so much different.
Yeah.
Um, I think this year I want to switch it over, kind of update it, do IRS in the rear,
hmm
make some new knuckles in the front, kind of make it drive more similar. Because it's kind of funny, the wheelbase between the truck and the car, they're identical.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same wheelbase. So I want to probably put a Z subframe in the rear and kind of make them drive more similar to each other. That way it's
Yeah.
not so weird going back and forth.
Right.
Uh, yeah, so I want to.
So when you talk about the differences, like driving them now, so like what's something that you notice is different?
The grip is a big one. The truck, it you kind of need to left foot brake more, like in tandems and things. If you get off the throttle, it wants to hook up and go straight, just because you know it's a solid axle. It's
Yep.
always flat. Whereas like with IRS cars, you can adjust like toe gain and camber gain and things like that, and kind of make them grip up where you want to, and you can kind of get off throttle and float a little bit.
Huh.
Whereas the truck, it's kind of weird like that. You need to keep momentum up. Like if you're following someone and they are offline a little bit or need to shallow up or they're going too slow,
Yeah.
it's really hard to keep the truck sideways.
Interesting. So you
Speed.
just have to do a bunch of checking up, or does
Yeah,
that
pretty
not
much
work as
just
well?
a lot of like checking up with the handbrake and left foot
Left foot.
braking, things like that, and just keep on throttle.
Yeah.
So
So
that's a big difference. And then yeah, I mean the steering is a little bit different, but I guess you can kind of tell that you sit much further forward in the truck because it kind of rotates behind you.
yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's just different.
Yeah.
It's still fun to drive. It's a blast to
Oh
drive.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
last year I drove my car at most of the fun events, and then one of my buddies took the truck out, which was kind of cool because I got to tandem with my my two vehicles. I put a couple of tire marks in the doors and things. So
nice.
yeah.
That's cool. So left foot braking. So I assume you do a lot of that now, or is that like kind of something that you do a lot of, because of the truck, and because you had to do it because of
Um,
the truck, or
I do, but I don't think it's because of the truck. I think that's just kind of I
necessary?
guess it might be
Because
kind of
I know some drivers don't like left foot braking and they just check up as much as they can, or clutch kick and stuff like
yeah.
that.
It's in FD. It's hard because you really don't want a handbrake.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously judges see the wheels lock up and they don't like to see that kind of stuff. So it's easier just to put a light left foot brake. St. Louis was a big one that we were left foot braking because the first corner, you almost couldn't get quite enough speed for the first corner to really pitch it in and hold a lot of angle
Yeah.
and still stay in that outside zone. So we
Mm-hmm.
were doing like a lot of really light left foot braking just to kind of keep the car out in that first outside zone. But I
Gotcha.
think everyone was kind of doing that. And then there was also a little bit in that second outside zone just because it's such a long straightaway.
Yeah.
And if you didn't left foot brake at all, the car just wanted to shoot right over to the other side of the track.
Makes
But
sense. Huh.
yeah, otherwise, I like to when I'm driving like in follow runs. Typically, I'll do more left foot braking than I will do like throttle modulation and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like to just kind of keep it at a high RPM, keep it in the power, and then kind of modulate speed with just light left foot braking.
Yeah.
I find it easier to control.
Do you mess with brake bias at all on your
No,
cars? Interesting.
no, I just leave it. It's just stock 350Z brakes. So yeah, I just leave that and run with it
Seems to work.
so far.
um, yeah, I mean, it. Like I said, you got such a simple car, but you've had so much success with it already. So,
Yeah, yeah, I'm excited. We got, like I said, it's relatively the same thing. It's just kind of mild upgrades here and there. Uh, we are running a little bit different in the rear end this year. We got a company, we're doing testing some prototype kits for the rear. So we're gonna
so
last
prototype as in,
it's just not available yet. We're doing some testing
yeah.
for it, and
You mean
then
like a rear end, or like
yeah,
what, like?
the rear angle kit or lock kit, grip kit, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So last year we were on stock knuckles and just adjustable camber or not caster but camber and toe arms,
Okay.
and we did a little bit of messing around with the toe arm placement on the subframe. With Z's, it's kind of weird because when you get low, as the car squats down, it wants to toe out, which is not ideal. It kind
Yeah.
of wants to lose grip a little bit when
Mm-hmm.
you squat and when you're on throttle.
Correct.
So we messed around with the toe mount a little bit, raising it up, and that gave us actually quite a bit of toe gain, which was really good for some tracks. It kind of made it difficult at like Texas. When you're going down the power alley, it was hard to kind of hold angle because it wanted to toe in and grip up in the rear so much.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so this year we're trying a new kit, and we're gonna try and eliminate some of that toe gain and toe out
So
kind
so
of
is the
issue.
big thing with the new kit just the adjustability
Yeah,
is just so much more.
Yep, exactly. So we'll be able to kind of fine tune that, and then it has some camber gain correction and
Yeah.
things like that. So
So
that should
where
help a lot.
Yeah. So where did you learn about all of these suspension modifications and stuff, and like what it all does? Is that just from experience, or did you like go
A lot
read
of
up?
it's
Oh,
a lot of it's experience, and yeah, just kind of messing with it. I like to tinker in the garage a lot. Obviously, I built the truck
mm-hmm.
myself and I built the car myself, and just kind of sitting in the garage and messing with things. Pull a wheel off and send the suspension up through the travel and let it down and see what it does. And
Yeah.
with the Z, we noticed it was towing out and um, made changes and
Yeah.
you know, a lot of things. With the truck, I would say that's probably where I learned most of it, because they don't make anything for it.
Right. Yeah.
If you want something for it, you got to build it, and it's you do a little bit of research, read up on things, what people have done. Just even if it doesn't seem relevant, you can look up like chassis setup in NASCARs or circle track cars or
Yeah.
anything like that, and kind of implement that into what you're doing. And
So have you done that before? Like, did you use some stuff that you've learned from other racing industries and kind of put it into your own stuff, or?
yeah, a lot of like I would say, like on the rear of the truck, we've got leaf springs still.
Yeah.
Um, and one of the things that a lot of the circle track guys do with leaf springs is they make a slider,
What do you
which is,
mean?
in the rear. So I'll try and show you with my hands, but
Yeah.
here's the frame up here, and
Yep.
then the shackle, and then the bottom of the leaf spring attaches to it. So that shackle is the pivot point.
Correct.
When you lower it down a lot, that kind of flattens out, and so you don't really
Yeah.
have any suspension travel left.
Yep.
So what they do is they get rid of the shackle completely, and they build a thing that the leaf spring slides into, and then it rolls on bearings. So it's just a flat roller, basically.
Interesting.
And yeah, so we did that with the truck.
So is that just a custom piece that you made for it?
Yep, you can buy them. I just made my own, just
Mm-hmm.
some little brackets and bearings and things like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's kind of cool because you can adjust the pitch of it, and you can kind of adjust your spring rates that way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's
Yeah.
kind of interesting. But yeah, the rear of the truck, it's interesting for sure. It works. I wouldn't say it works really well for like a performance application,
Yeah.
but it works well enough that it's consistent and it
So
you know.
you definitely wouldn't recommend solid axle over independent rear
No,
anytime
I
soon.
would go independent all day.
Yeah.
The good thing about a solid axle, it's cheap and nothing ever breaks.
Yeah.
They're just indestructible. So and in the
So
truck we
like for example, like any Mustang pre like 2016 or something. Like have you I don't know if you've ever had experience with like those live axle cars or anything like that.
no, not really. That was actually when we first jumped into Pro 2. That was one of the things we were looking at was a Mustang chassis,
Mhm.
and the I didn't really. I know there was I forget who it was. There was one driver that he drove. I don't remember if it was Pro 2 or Pro 1, but he
Well,
had a Mustang.
you have
Like
Beecham, you have
no, it was before Beecham even. I think Beecham is solid axle though too.
yeah.
But there was one other guy that drove a solid axle Mustang, and I
Well,
read he's got a bunch of articles online about different things that he's done.
mhm.
So we read up into that, but really, if we went with the Mustang chassis, we wanted to get into a Cobra, so that we had the
Yeah.
RS. But yeah, I mean, I
So
don't.
what's the big advantage of IRS compared to solid axle?
Uh, the, there's more adjustments. So obviously, you've got the basics. You've got like the static camber, static toe, things like that. But then you can actually adjust it through the travel as well. So as the car squats down, you're under throttle, it squats down. You can adjust things so that you have your static camber, and then
Right.
as it goes through the travel range, you can adjust it to where it'll camber out, camber in, do different things like that, and that can affect
Grip levels.
the way the car rolls and handles and
Mhm.
grips up, and do all kinds of stuff. It's really cool what you can do with that. So
That's neat, and it seems like even you've had a bunch of testing with the Z, and even with your limited adjustments, I guess you could say, in the rear,
yeah,
or adjustability, I guess you want to call it that. So, and it seems like especially people like getting into drifting, one of the biggest things that's overlooked is suspension setup and just um, figuring out. I mean, obviously tire pressure, I've noticed people mention a lot, is like the big thing, but
Yep.
then figuring out your alignment specs and what.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest things, right? If not the biggest thing, I would say. Um, but yeah, because you see new people come into a drift event, and they might be driving horrible, but they might just have a horrible alignment setup, and the car is just not doing what they want to, and
Hmm.
it can make your car a whole new car if you have it set up correctly.
Yeah. Is there like a magical number range for like certain chassis, or is it really just depend on each car and like?
Yeah, I think it depends more on each car.
Hmm.
You can get like generic settings, but you kind of have to set it up to find a happy place where you can kind of control what you're doing, and then adjust from there is the
Yeah.
biggest. So.
So if you're someone brand new getting into drifting, and you're at your first drift event, and you already have a neutral setup, and you want to start playing with settings to make it easier to drift or something like that.
Yeah.
So what are the first things you're adjusting to basically try out things?
Um, that's hard. I would say, depending on what you wanted to do differently, say you don't have enough front grip. So you could, you've already got low tire pressure and it still wants to understeer or whatever. You could play with camber, try and get the tires as flat as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And it depends, on what part of the range you're not having grip in, or
Yep.
if you're losing grip at full lock, maybe you have too little camber, maybe you need to add a little camber into it. A lot of the time, I think caster is one of the biggest things when people are getting into drifting.
Okay.
See that a lot. The cars just don't want to self-steer, and that makes it very difficult to transition,
Right.
and things like that. So
So
I would say getting into it, start with like a stock alignment spec. Just bring it in, have them set it to a stock setting, and then play with it from there. You can always add a little bit of caster, see what happens. If you don't like it, go back, set it the other way, and
Mhm.
one thing at a time. Don't make a bunch of changes all at once, and then
Yeah.
have them do what changed what. So,
Right.
yeah, it's for me. It's kind of adjusting with it, and
So, when you are at FD and stuff, are you the one making the changes, or is that like your team? So, like, when you go out and you test something and you don't like something, do you like tell your team, "Hey, adjust this amount" or something like that, or how does that kind of work?
yeah, typically that's how it goes. Depending, I mean, if it's at the end of practice and things were going terribly and we want to adjust caster or something like that, I'll get down and we bring it back to the pits, between practice sessions or whatever, and you can make adjustments like that, and then I'll be down helping and things. But if it's just like a minor toe or a minor camber adjustment, they can just do it right up on grid. We've got our toe plates and all that stuff right up there, so quick and
Makes-
easy stuff. Yeah, quick and easy stuff is just they can hop in and do it. But
Mhm. And so, I guess what I'm talking about is like, so when you're in the car, and so like, what's a common thing that you'll change, like that when you're not happy?
um, typically when I'm
Because
out there driving, my brother-in-law is actually on the team. He likes to watch the car. He's super good at you know, picking out suspension adjustments that we should make.
Mhm.
If I, typically, I'll come back from a run and, oh, the car didn't want to hold angle here, and we'll kind of bounce ideas back and forth. But typically, we'll come to the same conclusion and make adjustments and things like that. But yeah, typically, it's nice having him there. He can kind of he sees basically exactly what I feel a lot of the time, so it works really well.
Is your brother into drifting too, or is he just help
My
you out?
brother-in-law, so it's my wife's brother.
Oh,
But he doesn't drive or anything. He just he comes to all the events and helps out. And,
nice. Just
yeah,
learns.
yep. The
Yeah,
whole, the whole family is kind of big into it. We come back full circle of the family, and my brother-in-law, my father-in-law, a lot of them are on the team, and then a couple of good friends. My roommate that actually lives with us here, he's the crew chief. So
Wow. That's awesome.
yeah,
You got your own little drift family.
yep, that's right.
Um,
So yeah, it's cool.
it probably makes it a lot easier to do everything too, and makes it all worth it. And
Yep,
you know, it. I think that's something hard a lot of people are trying to find is like you're spending all this money, and you got significant others doing something totally different, and they want to go do
yeah,
something. They want to spend money on something else,
yeah. It's
or you got
you when you get to this level, Pro 2 and especially Pro 1, it's kind of everyone in your life has to have almost the same goal.
hmm
Yeah, it's because it takes a team for sure.
yeah,
It's a lot more than just one person saying, "Hey, I want to do this," and then unless you have a ton of money and you can pay everyone to come in and help you or whatever.
right.
But
Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I literally was talking to Garage Moon Power yesterday. Those three guys,
yeah,
Sebastian and Dustin, all those guys, and they were saying the same thing that they found each other, and they all just wanted to drive. That's like their life is driving,
yep,
and so they were able to find some friends that had the same priorities as they did, and
yeah,
that's why they mix so well together. Um, and that's kind of like something I've learned just talking to people that the best thing you can do, especially starting out, is not only obviously talk to people like you that are knowledgeable and stuff, and always ask questions, especially the
yeah,
people that know what they're doing, but find a good friend group or friends that are constantly driving as well and are really dedicated
yep.
to the sport. If you want to be dedicated to the sport as well, I mean,
Right. I would
us.
say, having consistency off track is just as, important as having consistency on track. You don't want to be worried about, if someone knows what they're doing or, how you're gonna, who's gonna crew for you at the next round or anything like
hmm
that. So it's, the same people, you can count on them. They're always gonna be there and they're always gonna know what's going on. So yeah, it's a big.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's something it's something people don't think about. It especially I'm sure it's harder a lot more difficult in areas where there's less population, like in Minnesota. So I can't imagine there's a whole lot of people outside of your family that do the drifting thing. But
Right. Yeah.
but uh, I mean, especially in like high populated areas. I mean, just finding the friends that are around
Yep.
is something that is going to be a big deal. I think in the future, especially for people trying to get into the sport.
Yeah.
Um,
Definitely.
so what's I try to ask this on like every experienced driver. I try to ask them, someone getting into the sport. I know we kind of talked about suspension setup a little bit and just doing basic adjustments and stuff like that. But is there any other like common issues that you'll see new drivers do that really just hold them back?
Um, I would say getting into it. Um, it's hard because there's a lot of different ways to do it. Um, you know, there's always the people who are like, don't build your car, don't do this, just go out and drive it. And but I'm, someone who jumped into the sport with a V8 already in a car
Right.
and just, drove it the way it was. But yeah, I would say, getting into it, have a reliable setup. You're not gonna need to make a ton of power. You don't need the biggest turbo you can find. You don't, you know, just keep it reliable and keep it consistent. That's the biggest thing, and leave it drivable.
Right.
I think you have a lot more fun having a car that is easy to handle, and you can, it's if you have a car it can be very fast and very wild and huge angle and all this stuff, um, but at the same time it's a lot more intimidating to really drive something like that really hard.
Mhm.
It's funner, and I think you build your skill faster having a car that you can still have a fast car and a reliable car, but something that handles well, and you can drive it aggressively and kind of overdrive the car.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like something you can where your skill level is a little bit higher than the build, the level of the car.
Right.
So yeah, you can really just get in there and just drive the shit out of it, and push it to its limits.
Right.
You learn a lot more than having a car that has limits that are way higher that you can't reach.
Right.
I think that's where you get a lot of people who you can tell when a driver's not confident, in the car. Has maybe a car that's a little over what they can handle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get, it's a pretty similar response to a lot of people I see, and you know, all I can do is just re-echo it for people,
Yeah.
because an interesting thing is there's a lot more money coming to drifting, a lot
Oh,
more
yeah.
people with money coming to drifting, and I think you've seen this, I've seen it. There's a lot bigger teams coming, a lot more
Yeah.
money's getting thrown into it. There's a lot of people that aren't involved in drifting right now that have a lot of money and want to get in,
Yep.
and so they're gonna build a 700 horsepower LS car that's built to the moon with wise fab
Right.
everything, and then they're just not going to know how to drive that
Right.
car. And so, I mean, the biggest thing that I can try and help people do is to not do that.
Right.
And I talk to a couple people that instruct all the time. They're like, dude, just get like a stock 350Z,
Right.
welded diff, and just go drive, and or something similar, and that's all I can do is just reiterate that stuff, because I, of course, don't listen to that, and I have a car that's been in a shop for a year and a half now, and it's gone nowhere.
Yeah.
So I obviously don't take my own advice, but then again, you need. In other words, I need time to drift too, and the thing
Right.
is when I'm at a drift event, I'm filming, so it doesn't really work for me, but it is what it is for right now.
Yeah, that's right.
And
And
I
you know,
enjoy coming to
you start
these.
out and you get a seat time car, and you can kind of go from there. I mean, that's what I did with the truck. When I first built the truck, I didn't really have any intentions to drift.
Really?
I just I built it. I was in college, and the truck was all stock actually. We can go way back, and my dad is actually the original owner of the truck.
Really?
Yeah, he bought it brand new in '86, and then drove it for years and years and years, and then sold it to a buddy. And then when I turned 16, they bought it back, and that was kind of my first step into the
So
automotive
what was
world.
the engine that was in that originally? Like a little
It
four
was
cylinder?
it was actually the first year that they went fuel injection in those things. It was
Really?
2.4 liter before the KA. Yeah, 5 speed, just super basic. I think it had like 100 horsepower. And so yeah, I like lowered it and did little things. And then when I went into college, I wanted to just play with it a little bit, so we pulled the motor out, put uh, a small block 350
Mm-hmm.
carbureted motor, and then a TH350 transmission. Just kind of dropped it in there to have some fun, and
Wow.
then that's kind of when I started getting into drifting and doing burnouts and
Mm-hmm.
starting to slide it around. And yeah, it just kind of escalated from there. I blew the motor up, I think, at the end of the first year, and ended up finding LS, just a 4.8, which
Yep.
I drove that for like 2 years with a T56.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just kind of random stuff and
Nice.
progressing. And yeah.
So did you what kind of like got you into the drifting sport? Was it just kind of like something you thought was cool and
Yeah, I remember I my first, fond memory of drifting, I would say, would be, obviously I saw FD and things like that on TV and or on the internet and whatever. But we went to a Cars and Coffee event, and then after that we went to a drift day down at a local track down in the city. It's called Elko. They had, this random drift day going on down there, so we went down there to spectate. And there's a guy, you might have seen the truck. It's a 1JZ D21 hardbody,
okay.
the Dirty Love truck.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw that for the first time down there, and that was like, I gotta try this.
Nice.
So yeah, that was my first time seeing, you know, actual drifting live, and yeah, so
And you
that's I
just
think.
hooked after that?
Yep.
Nice.
So yeah.
Yeah, and you know that's the thing is like getting creating those moments for more people to get into drifting too is like
Right.
creating that really cool wow like moment when people see it, and I think that's the biggest thing that we can do
Yeah.
now is just trying to create that spark in other people so that the sport
Yep.
just keeps growing, you know.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's grown exponentially in the last few years up here. It's super cool seeing, you know, people that, you know, come up and say, yo, you know, I see you driving out there. It's super cool to see. And yeah, it's cool. It's super cool.
Yeah, I mean you're up with the big boys now this year,
Yeah.
buddy.
Yeah, we're
So
up there.
so
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited. So
right. Yeah, I mean it's got to be weird being like, oh yeah, I'm doing Pro 1. I just don't know when.
yeah, right. Yeah, it's it's almost a blessing in disguise. I feel like that round one was pushed off because
Mhm.
now all of us guys that are coming up from Pro 2, we're actually at a track that we have driven before.
Yeah.
So that'll be nice.
I just feel like Long Beach is such an intimidating track because I've seen so many crashes there.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a wild track, but at the same time, I really like those kind of
Mm-hmm.
tighter courses. A lot of the tracks up here
Right.
are similarly tight and things like that. We've kind of got like a weird track, uh, you know, bag of tracks we have up here. Because we've got, you know, like Top End, which is like a tight track. We've got BIR, which either has a skid pad, which is relatively tight, or they've got their road course, which is like 80 mile an hour, just
Really,
super fast stuff. So
that
it's
would
fun.
be
But
interesting.
yeah, we kind of get a mix of everything up here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, in Michigan, all we have are circle tracks for the most part.
Yeah, yeah. The only circle track we have here is Elko, and they have Eve of Destruction nights where they have
Yeah.
like monster trucks and dirt bikes and a drift
Wow.
demo, things like that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
invite only drift
Yeah.
demos, which I think we're gonna do a couple of them this year in the truck.
Nice.
But yeah, people love seeing the truck. It's having driven it for years. It's, you know, you don't really realize or know why, but
Mm-hmm.
it's just like everyone just goes crazy when they see that thing out there. So
Oh, it's different. It looks
yeah,
cool. You know, it's just you know, it's something that you know people are just gonna fall in love with. You know.
yeah,
But again, excited to see what you're doing with the car this year. I know you can't say a ton about it, but
yeah,
um, should be a good year this year.
yeah.
Uh,
It's right next to me right now, and it looks crazy. I'm super excited to get it out and show it off. So
awesome.
got a new partner that did all the wrap on it this year. Got a new title sponsor, which we can't say yet, but super excited to work with them. And yeah, it's gonna be a wild year.
Awesome. So you want to hit any more final points? Stuff that you see that you want to talk about? Maybe some old drift events or anything that something that comes to mind?
Uh, I don't know.
What was like an old rivalry that you used to have back in the day drifting um, that you enjoy driving with, or who do you like driving against? I guess you could say.
I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but one of my best buddies, Justin Voss, he's one of my favorite people to drive with. He's always, you know, we would always he's basically who I started drifting with and grew
Mm-hmm.
up drifting with him, and you know, we started at the same time and we both kind of progressed the same. And yeah, you know, there's certain people you drive with that you know, it's fun to tandem with, but then there's certain people who you just kind of click with because you know exactly what they're going to do all the time,
Yep.
and so you can just drive on their door constantly. And he's one of those people, so it's super fun to drive with him.
Awesome.
Um, yeah, so I think our first time driving, there was when we started, he bought a 240 with the RB25 in it, and pretty much stock other than that. And then that's when I had first small block swap the truck. So I had the truck with a carburetor
Mm-hmm.
and automatic transmission.
Yep.
And we would go, there was a neighborhood up the road a little ways, They like started building it and then went bankrupt.
Oh.
So it was like this goofy neighborhood. They had like roundabouts and like all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh yeah.
But then it was just like blocked off and barricaded up so no one would go back there and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that's kind of where we learned to drift. We would just go back there and I would brake stand the truck and start to burn out and then like try and hold it out around the corner, and things like that.
Yeah.
And
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, that was our first time. And and then after that we started going to like Raceway Park, which was that circle track that I said that closed down.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of it progressed from there. I know if you jump on my YouTube, there's a whole bunch of old videos of it. I haven't been active on my YouTube in a long time, but we've got like it's kind of funny to go back and look at some of that stuff and
right.
See how we started and
how much has changed.
Yeah.
That's awesome though, buddy. Yeah. It's always cool, like you said, to have a friend that you get started with, and then someone that can help push you along too and get better, give you pointers, stuff like that.
Yep. Yes, it's fun. We both kind of did the same thing for a long time, and then
Cool. All right.
We still all the local stuff, but
heck yeah. So, again, do you want to? I know you can't say a whole lot about the car, but do you want to give some shout outs or like people that have helped you with so far, and kind of where they can all find you at? Do like like your 5-minute plug?
Kinda? Yeah. So we got the. Ready?
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
I'm sitting here.
Yeah. So we got a bunch of some new partners, some old partners, a lot of old partners that are coming through with us. Some new stuff this year. We got Holley Efi. We're running their HP setup. We're super excited about. We still have pretty much the same engine program. We got Sandback Race Development building the motor. We got all Manly pistons, rods, valves. We did some porting in the motor. They've been helping us out a ton.
Which LS are you running again?
It's a 6-liter.
Okay. Yep.
Aluminum block. So stock block, stock crank, and then the Manly pistons, rods, and valves. Then we're topping off this year. We got the Magnuson Supercharger. That's probably one of my favorite things.
It's a big boy.
The big 2650 hot rod kit. Yep. So that'll be super cool. Crown Carbon Crafting is on board this year. We got their 50 millimeter over fender wide body kit.
Nice.
It's really good. We got. Let's see what else. Fortunato.
You talk about the new coilovers.
Yep, we got the Fortunato Dreadnought Pro 2-ways. Those are super nice. I just got those on the car. ACT is still on board this year with the clutch. We just upgraded to a twin disc from the single disc we've been running the last 2 years. Mm-hmm. So we're really excited about that.
What kind of trans are you running? You said dog box, right?
Yep, it's a dog box. We have RTS do all the maintenance and rebuilds and things on that. Rick's a great guy down there. He always helps us out. If you've got a dog box or quick change or anything like that, hit him up. He's a great guy. So we just got that back and he rebuilt it and he always takes care of us.
Nice.
So we got that. Achilles tires. We're still on Achilles this year.
Okay, cool.
So, super excited about that too. On the big 285. So that'll be awesome. And then Koenig wheels.
Oh yeah.
They are on board again. We got rid of the red wheels.
Okay.
We're still on the hypergrams.
So you going black? Or you
they are the matte silver, or like the
yep.
Like metallic matte kind of color.
Mm-hmm.
So the silver hypergrams. We got the 10.5 concave in the rear, and then the 9.5s up front. So
nice.
Yeah, looks super good.
All right.
I'm pumped. You can see it, but I can't do that. So
I'm pumped, man. All right. So where can they go find you at?
We're at Alec Robbins Racing on everything. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, just at Alec Robbins Racing.
Cool.
Give us a like.
Awesome. And he'll be running Pro 1 this year, and I'm sure doing a whole bunch of fun events.
Yep.
And we hope to see you out to a whole bunch of stuff this year, buddy. It's been fun watching you. So, again, thanks everyone for watching the podcast. I appreciate all the support. we since nobody's doing anything, I've been doing a whole bunch of interviews this week and next week. Got a whole bunch of stuff scheduled, so you guys stay tuned because we got daily stuff going out all week, all next week. I mean, we always have daily stuff, but daily podcast stuff because nobody's doing anything right now, surprisingly. So again, guys, thanks for listening, and be sure to check out Robbins because you're one of those guys that's balling on a budget but doing everything right, doing everything. You're not like a bare minimum guy, but you do things to where you don't need to be fancy in.
Yeah.
Like you do the things that you need
We
to
do it.
to be
We do
competitive.
it.
Right. You're not foot racing for tires like someone else I know. So,
We haven't stooped that low yet, but we'll see.
awesome.
We'll never count it out.
Yeah. Well, awesome, buddy. Thank you for coming on, and we'll see
Yeah, thank
everyone
you.
next time.
We'll see ya.